important point is that I am not doing it to distribute the knowledge. I am doing it for myself. As Shubhen sir said very clearly, that whenever we trying to distribute knowledge, we get the knowledge. Very simple, very selfish motive, you can say. So when I thought that why should I speak on this Bhagavad Gita? So it is very clearly mentioned in Bhagavad Gita's 68th shloka of 18th adhyaya, ya imam paramam guhyam madbhaktesh vabhidasati bhakti mai param krutva mame vaichatya sanshaya. Means if you believe in me, if you distribute your knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, then it is actually a kind of going towards the Krishna, right? And that is the sole reason. There is a big explanation of this. We'll come to that explanation definitely sometimes. So my first point, that the science word itself, when it was not existing at all, at that point of time, Bhagavad Gita has said in 7th adhyaya, 2nd shlok, that there is a difference between the philosophy and the science. Vijnana saha tattvajnana. So jnanam teham savijnanam idam. So it means that the science is different and the philosophy is different. So this is the word actually Bhagavad Gita has carved out 5000 years ago. When science word was not there, we had in Bhagavad Gita there is a word science. So it is very, very clearly indicates that the science existed, the actual science existed almost 5000 years ago, okay, when the word science itself was not carved out. So that is the first clear indication that it is a scientific epic. So this text is completely scientific. You think about that whenever there is a, say, xenophobia or anxiety or depression, there are ways that, okay, doctor gives antidepressants, doctor gives anti-anxiety, but the actual body mind covers its illness and then rectify it through the actual change in mind. And that is what determined by Krishna when Arjuna has come to Krishna, and between two sides, he was discussing with Krishna. He has a phobia of his relative getting killed by himself. He has a phobia of departing relatives, and that is a kind of xenophobia. It has another term also, phobia of losing relative, and phobia of losing our friends. So that phobia was there, and this phobia should be taken out, should be rectified. That Krishna determined very clearly. So whenever depression is there, no doubt that if we pick up Bhagavad Gita and read it, that is actually rectification of it. So there are symptoms. It has clearly indicated the symptoms of, like, gatrani mukham cha parishushati, means the mouth was dry. Even in that battlefield, he was saying my mouth is dried. So what does it mean? Krishna determined that his cholinergic system is completely deactivated now. Okay, he has anxiety, and that's why. So it's an anticholinergic effect he has, and then he started his treatment on this particular phobia. Let me quickly explain you for next point. Quickly explain you the energy system. See, the energy of muscles is actually a ATP, adenosine triphosphate. We all know it gives ATP, and then from ATP to ADP, the conversion, it gives a 6 calories of energy, and these calories is utilized. So that is a muscle power, that is a walking power, talking power. But the levels of energy, this concept of levels of energy was established by Krishna at that point of time, where they said that the muscular energy is the lowest form of energy, which is like a very crude rockle or kind of petroleum. The digestion energy is one level higher energy. Hearing energy is more pure form of energy. Talking energy is even more pure form of energy. Watching, it requires even pure form of energy. Though they are ATP, but the form is purest one. Thinking, it needs even pure form of energy. Will, even pure form of energy, and beyond that is soul. Soul is like a nuclear energy. Even it is more powerful than that, and that is what is said a kai in Chinese, or it has a different names in different countries. But that energy is actually considered as the highest form of energy, purest form of energy. What Krishna has said is in Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dhavati Pavaka, that cannot be chopped off. See, it cannot be weight by water, or it cannot be cut down by any sword or any kind of tool. You cannot fire it, you cannot even burn it, you cannot run it away by air. So it says that it is a stable form of energy. So it's kind of that. So we know thermodynamic law that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can be changed from one form to another form. So this is very clearly, he has mentioned that the soul is different from the body, and the soul is the highest form of energy. In Sankhya Yoga, second adhyaya, 23rd of this verse, it has very clearly mentioned that na chainam kledayante apo na shoshayati marutaha. Right? So that is clearly indicated. Coming to the 20th verse of Sankhya Yoga, that is a second adhyaya, it is very clearly indicated that it cannot be born or it cannot be killed. It will be there, it was there, it is there, and it will be there. Whether the body changes, the soul remains same, and it is a part of actually Sri Krishna. Again, law of conservation of energy is proved here. Right? In 22nd shloka it says Vasansi Jirnani Yathavya. This is very famous shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Navani grubnanti vinaroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirna nanyati sayati navani dehi, means the soul transfer from one body to another body. No doubt that Patanjali Sutra says that you can transfer your soul from one body to another body. Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, it get transfer after the death, after the particularly the cloth of our body is actually left by a soul. It will transfer to the another body. So this process, to accept this process itself, currently our science is not that much, we have not gone to that level that how this transfer can occur. Coming to the 58th shloka of second adhyaya Sankhya Yoga, you will see that there are papers which are there in Neuroscience. So one paper I got which says about the SART process: self-awareness, self-regulation, self-transcendence, and this is nothing but actually a neurological process of your mindfulness. So this paper very clearly indicates that if you neurologically treat your organs and treat your complete sense organs and calm them, so you ultimately reach to very high amount of energy and balance way of life. Yada saharate chaham kurmom gani va sarvasha. So what it says in second adhyaya of Sankhya Yoga, 58th shloka, that like a tortoise, so we have to just pull our sense organ inside, because tortoise actually protrude its sense organ and head only when it has to fight or it has to mate. So it has to expense the energy, it actually protrude out and take out its hands and legs. So you can imagine that it has exactly mapped this process of sense organ with the tortoise appendages protruding out. You can imagine the kind of comparison that what Krishna has done in this particular thing is nothing but a pratyahar. So pratyahar, which is actually internalizing your sense organ. Very simply, it's a yoga sutra. And pratyahar, recently there is a study which is published on Chopra's this one site, that pratyahar and kriya yoga for even 7 days actually make the length of your telomere stagnant, or sometimes it reduces also. So it reduces aging. If I claim this one, it will probably spawn out a lot of questions that it can reduce the aging. But that is what the fact is. Actually, if we use our sense organ in a proper way without creating a negative feeling inside, then it's a pratyahar, and it reduces our lot of traction and attrition with the environment. So you can imagine this is nothing but the epigenetics. Nothing but this. I strongly feel that epigenetics creep through the pratyahar and it changes our epigenetics. So pratyahar there must be definitely in our future, there will be a research on how pratyahar can change the epigenetics. So I think with this I'll just stop it here, and then I'll wait for the questions. Thank you so much, friends. Please advise your suggestions in comment box.